Hey my friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. We have a very special car today, the 2016 Subaru BRZ Series.HyperBlue. It's a special edition, only 500 made, so we're going to do a quick walk around inside and out. Then we're going to take it out on my favorite windy mountain road, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Now, this being a special edition, the very first and most obvious thing is the color, Hyper Blue. Now, they also offer this on the STI for 2016, a lot of the same treatments. And so, in addition to this color, which I just love, is the black trim elements. The first thing you see up there, black 17-inch wheels. Now, the wheel design is identical to that of the standard BRZ and on the Scion FRS, but in this case, they're blacked out. So that's a nice touch. Also, the trim up here on the fenders, black, the mirrors, black, and the emblems front and rear, black emblems. So they've really put together a cohesive package that really gives it a nice presentation. And of course the BRZ does have a slightly different front fascia, slightly different headlight design than you're going to find on the Scion. And out back, one thing that's really distinctive on this one is this really nice wing. It's tasteful. It really adds a lot to the car, above and beyond no wing at all. Now, it's not a WRX STI wing, but with the power level this has, it really hasn't earned that wing yet, but it definitely has earned this one. And the back of this car to me is always, in general, just been pretty good looking with this nice big dual exhaust and that lower fascia that really just has a nice sporting look to it. The interior of this car is almost identical to the FRS, the Scion Toyota GT86, but it is the one place that does offer some differences up from that car, and one of them is the center stack here, which has its own design. It's got its own switchgear, and I actually like this better. It's just a little more sporting to me, in my opinion, in the way it's designed, and it works very well. The HVAC controls are there, and there's a bank of switches down here that also work the HVAC, but it's just something a little different. It's not the same old thing. Now, this being the Series Hyper Blue, it's got one thing that I really like, and that is this blue highlight stitching. It's along the dash, the steering wheel, down here on the center console, and on these seats right here. Nice embroidered logo. These seats in this are some of the most comfortable chairs I sat in a great long time. I've always liked these in this car. They hold you like a fist, nice and tight. Now, if you're over 200 pounds, that might be a problem, but just a little bit less than that myself, and they work really good. They're very comfortable. They're firm like they should be in a sports car, but not so firm that they're uncomfortable sitting in them all day. And these in this particular car are upholstered with an Alcantara suede, and they're very breathable. They're just very comfortable. They are manually adjustable, but it's really easy to find that space. This is also a manually adjustable tilt and telescoping steering wheel, and it does offer quite a range of adjustment. We have shorter drivers in our office as well as me, and I'm just under 6 feet. Not a problem for either one of us. Now, sitting here, the seating position, very much sports car. You're sitting down low in this thing. In fact, when you look out the window, you're looking up at an Accord sedan. It's a very low car. Looking ahead, this is very simple. This is very well laid out. You've got a 3-dial instrument cluster right in front of you, and it does have all the information you need. It's not overly done. It's not underdone. It's just right. One thing is, there are no audio controls on the steering wheel. That's one thing they will be changing for 2017, however. When the new model comes out, it'll have quite a few new steering wheel controls. Now, the back seat, not a lot of space back there. That back seat's really, that's for your insurance company. That's so they charge you for a 4-seat sports coupe instead of a 2-seat sports car. You're not really going to put a lot of people back there. It's a great place to throw your gear, your backpack, your suitcase, things like that. It's just not that big. One of the things I was actually very impressed with on this car was its trunk space. It's really on par almost with an Impreza sedan. The rear seat does fold down for larger items, and most important, under that trunk is a spare tire, not a can of Fix-A-Flat. And when it comes to storage, we don't have a lot of that in here. The glove box is pretty big for its size, but the map pockets on the doors really aren't map pockets. They're for a bottle of water. And down here, we don't really have a closed compartment here in the console. There's a cup holder here, which sits there. Kind of cheesy, to be honest with you, in my opinion, and that also negates any kind of an armrest, which does affect the comfort, but if you're driving all the time, not a big deal. It's just if you try to set your arm here, you run into that issue. Now, as far as a place to put your phone, I have a larger phone and it doesn't fit in the little slot up here. I can put it here, but I think when they redesign this thing in the next go around, that's something they're going to want to look for, because even though you're a sporting type of driver, a lot of people still do carry quite large phones these days. Overall though, I'm very impressed with this interior. The materials, very good quality for its price range, and the design of it and the simplicity of it, I just really like. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but in this price range you don't need it, and in a sports car it really should be all about driving. It's really well done, therefore I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Now that gets us to the infotainment system. This particular system here is almost sort of an aftermarket type of deal. It's very simple in its design. It's not the fully integrated system you're going to find in other Toyota or other Subaru products. It still is marketed with the Starlink list of features and whatnot, but it's a lot simplified. This particular one does not have nav. But what I will point out that works very well is the audio. This has an excellent sound for a standard audio system. And as far as using it's concerned, the menus are pretty simple, although they're not as intuitive as they could be. The only thing I really could complain about with this system is the fact that its visibility, because it is a smaller screen, it's not quite as visible during the daytime when the sun shines on it, and the graphics aren't quite as crisp as they could be. So if you're just glancing at it, you sort of have to look at it and give it a little bit of focus to really find what you're looking for. And the last thing is connectivity. This does not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto yet. It does have quite a few other features, but it is missing those things. So the infotainment system gets 4 out of 5 stars. Even though this is a special edition BRZ, this one has the same engine that you're going to find in all of them, and that is a 2-liter 4-cylinder boxer engine. This one's a little different than most. It has a different fuel injection system on it, the Toyota D4S. It has both port fuel injection and direct injection, and all of that gives it 200 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 151 pound-feet of torque at 6,400 RPM. And basically what the system does is it can use either or both forms of fuel injection, and it really just depends on the speed, the loading, the temperature, a lot of different factors, but it enables the engine to sort of pick and choose when it comes to fuel delivery. Now in this car here we have a 6-speed manual transmission. It is also available with an automatic. All right, let's get to it. Hear that? That is what it takes to get the horsepower from this engine. All the way up there, all the way up there, all the way up there. Okay, there we go. Now we can shift. That's what it takes to get the power peak. This engine, boy, you know, it revs out, but you have to. And that's really always been my complaint about this motor, is the fact that its power peak is almost all the way up there at its red line. Its torque peak is almost all the way up there at its red line, which is fine, maybe, but you really have to work this thing to get any level of power out of it. And when you do, it isn't that much. It's like playing that penny slot machine at the casino. You got to keep pulling the handle all night, throwing coins in it all night, and when you finally get a jackpot, it's $1.50, and you're just wondering, what the hell? Why did I go to all that work? Because, like, I'm going up a hill. I have to shift down just to keep my speed up going up a hill, because this thing has no torque at low RPM, and it's noisy. This is a noisy box of rocks. I've always said that about this engine. I already know what you're saying. You're going, okay, Sam's bitching. I can see how the rest of this test drive is going to go. Well, no. But I do have to point out that this engine is in dire need of a turbocharger. I've said that from the very first time I ever drove this car. It needs a turbocharger. Why? Not necessarily for more power, but for a power band, torque, a little bit of drivability. Because if you're on a racetrack and you're in the kitchen, like here, I'm on a back road, I can cook. Okay, I can have this engine at full fire to get what I need, but if you're driving around in stop and go traffic, no, it's no fun. It makes life miserable, especially when this engine's so darn noisy and it makes such a racket. Okay, I've got to get to a point here. My point is, this engine really needs a turbocharger, and I don't understand why it doesn't. Subaru has some great turbocharged engines. They're on the shelf. Put it in here already. Anyway, I do have to score this, and because this thing has very little usable power, it's noisy, it's raucous. You know, powertrain, I'm sorry, I've just got to, it's 3 out of 5 stars. 3 out of 5 stars. All right, now that I've just ripped this thing a new one because this engine's just really awful, let's talk about handling, because that is a good thing in this car. Up here on a road like this car is just absolutely spectacular in the handling department. And that's because this chassis has a tune to it that has spring rates and damper rates that are right up to the edge of being too stiff. Not too stiff, but right up to the edge, so that you can drive it around on bumpy roads and it's livable. And the best part about that is it enables it to offer some grip and sharpness, and it's playful. Now, one of the reasons it's playful and it can really sort of give you a little bit of fun is because these tires really aren't all that grippy. In fact, they're not what you would call high-performance tires in the sense of the word. They're the same tires Toyota puts on a lot of their sedans, but because they're not extra grippy, it allows this car to feel like you're really pushing it hard and pushing the envelope when you're really not. I'm not really breaking the law or the laws of physics up here, but because of the way this suspension is tuned with these tires, it enables you to feel like it. It gives you a little bit of drama, but it's also predictable. So all that plays into a suspension, which I think is really awesome for an everyday driver like this, and for, honestly, the skill set of most drivers out there that are going to buy it. And it's very well refined, very well balanced, and the steering is just dead on the money in how good it feels. Therefore, chassis in this thing gets 5 full stars. Not a question. On the measure of quality, this thing's built in Japan, and therefore, as you'd expect, everything seems to fit together very well. Body fit and alignment, very good. Fit and finish, very good. The paint finish, spectacular. And it just feels well put together. The only place I'd really say anything negative is when you really get it on a rough road, you do get a few rattles and squeaks inside, but overall quality comes in at 5 stars. As far as safety is concerned, it isn't the top safety pick from the IIHS, and that's because in their full battery test that you can see here, it doesn't achieve a good rating in that small overlap crash. It does do good in the rest, and the other thing is it doesn't yet have crash avoidance systems like Subaru's EyeSight. That may come out in the future, but right now it isn't yet available on this. So summing this car up in one sentence, I'd simply say it's a really awesome car in search of a really awesome engine. And that gets us to the specs. The first thing I want to point out here is the fuel economy. I got phenomenal fuel economy with this. So while I complained a lot about the engine, one thing it very well does is fuel economy. It's rated at 25 mpg combined. I got 30. That's very, very good. The problem is it wants premium fuel to do it. 93, in fact. That's, you know, without the power and the fun to go with it, that's kind of heady, to be honest. And so, while I made the analogy earlier that this is like playing a penny slot machine, in reality, with that fuel requirement, it's actually like playing a quarter or $1 slot machine and still not getting a jackpot. So that plays into value overall, which, if not for that, this engine, that is, this would be a 5-star car. It would be a 5-star value, but in this case, it's actually a 4-star value. And when you put that in with everything else we have here, that gives us an overall rating of 4 stars. Now, I will point out that if this had a better power plant, this would be a 5-star car, and it would also be on my buy it list. I really do like it that much, if not for that one thing. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there that might be Subaru files probably think I'm some kind of an ass because I hate your precious boxer engine, and I don't. This one is the one that I just don't think belongs in a car like this. And ever since the very first time I drove it, which was at the media launch for the Toyota Scion FRS GT86, way back when they first launched it a few years ago, I drove it at the racetrack up in Nevada, and the head engineer was there, the head of Scion was there, and I asked them, where's the turbo? Where's the turbo? Oh, okay, no turbo. When's the turbo coming? Both of them, they looked at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears, like I was from Mars. Turbo? Why would we want a turbo? We never thought of a turbo. We never planned for a turbo. From day one, we never why would you want a turbo? It was pretty much what I got from them, and even the head of Scion, that guy gave me this laundry list of all the reasons why it doesn't have a turbo and why it can't have one. It doesn't fit, it's too expensive, nobody really want one, all these other ancillary reasons why there's no turbo. And it just boggles my mind. If there was a list of questions, top 10 questions of all automotive history that I put that are totally vexing to me, it's why doesn't this car have a turbo? Because Subaru and Toyota, they went to the trouble to design a completely fresh sheet of paper sports car around this boxer engine. And you're telling me that the STI turbo engine, the WRX turbo engine, never once entered their minds? They didn't design this car around that engine? That's absurd. It's just absolutely absurd. There, I got it off my chest. If you like the test drive you just saw, click on the link right there on your screen and subscribe to the YouTube channel we've got here. I do test drive 1 or 2 cars a week, and I don't always bitch incessantly about the engine in the cars. There's always something new, so stay tuned. Hey, you're still here. I've got one more thing. It's a good thing you didn't click away, because now you're going to get the inside dope. Now, if you bought one of these cars, maybe it's sometime after this video was made and you own one of these, and maybe you bought it with a few miles on it, a program car. Go look under your spare tire, look down in the well, and if there's a test-driven TV sticker there, this is your car. Now you can go to bed knowing that I've had your car, and so have dozens of auto journalists. Have a good day.